Hey, Bunk Funkers, we finally have merch. Check it out at MrBunkersConspiracyTime.com/merch. There's a link in the description also. We got t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, posters, and more, plus free shipping to the US, UK, EU, and Canada. That's MrBunkersConspiracyTime.com/merch.
In Chicago, two comedian skeptics named Andy and Art were mysteriously abducted by the illusionary mastermind and conspiracy theorist known only as Mr. Bunker. The following serves as a record of Bunker's attempt to convince non-believers of the truth about conspiracies and paranormal activity. Andy and Art give an uninterrupted presentation and verdict on the plausibility of these offbeat topics, delivering what they call the whole enchilada. Will Mr. Bunker convince these two skeptics any of this is real? Will it convince you?
Welcome, everybody, to Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time podcast. As always, I am your co-host, Arthur Stone, and with me, as always, is your co-host, Andy Hart.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings, Andy.
Thanks for being here. Happy to share some more time
shouting at
with
you.
Yeah, I love screaming into the mic.
I love screaming.
I'm a screamer, listeners.
If you're a screamer... Wow. Andy comes from the land of the ice and snow, the midnight sun, and the hot springs. Grow?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Hey, Andy, what the heck are we doing down here?
That went over like a Led Zeppelin.
Jesus. Andy, what are we doing down here besides making the best music puns on the planet? Bar none.
Boy, oh boy, we got captured again.
We got captured, and we're here to talk about a little topic. You might have heard of them. They're an emoji.
Yeah, this is an emoji. We're going to be talking about moai statues and Easter Island more generally.
That's right. A lot of fun archaeological history with this one, don't you think?
You know, I think that there's a lot of different angles here. There's
the statues have lots of different angles.
They're three-dimensional things. You've got your just regular, like, conventional science mysteries.
Sure.
You've got your alternative history and science mysteries.
You do for sure.
You've got aliens? Extraterrestrials. There's a lot of meat on this bone.
A lot of meat on this bone. A lot of fun stuff to pick here, listeners. So if you want to skip right ahead to all that delicious, slow roasted research, marinated perfectly with our delicious senses and spices of humor,
stewing in its own juices.
Oh, yes. You can check out the timestamp for when the research begins in the episode show notes on whatever podcast app you choose.
However you listen to it, it's there.
However you listen to it. But first, Andy and I like to get nice and warmed up, just like, you know, how you gotta sometimes simmer a little... You gotta warm up the utensils a little bit.
We like to sweat our onions here a little bit for your benefit. You know,
we char the skin,
start to leach some of the moisture out.
That's right. You gotta wash the beans,
soften them a bit.
We're both big beans, and you gotta wash us.
You gotta soak them. We're soaking our beans here for you.
And we're gonna do a little fun gimmick where we we talk about how Mr. Bunker captured us this week, because every week he's a wily guy and he finds a different way to bring us down here.
He's out there, the wild man coming at us.
It's not to say that we wouldn't be talking about these fun topics ourselves, but I don't think we would be podcasting about them if it wasn't for him.
Would you hear about it if it weren't for Mr. Bunker?
That's right.
Think about what you owe him, listeners.
You'd have to bug Andy's car, because that's the only time we talk about these things.
And there's plenty of bugs in there already.
Andy, speaking of food, I got a tale I got a tale about how...
Tail of an animal that you're eating?
I got a tale of an animal that I was eating, a little oxtail.
Ooh, okay.
You ever had oxtail?
I never have.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that surprising?
Andy, you're a pretty adventurous eater. Would you say?
Yeah. I've never had, let's talk about the parts of the cow I've never eaten. I've never eaten, or the steer. I've never eaten the oxtail. I've never eaten the shank. Never had ossobuco. Let's see. Never had, tongue.
Okay. You've had brain and other vital organs to the cow?
Let me think. Organ meat that I've had. I've definitely had testicles. Had those in Colorado.
You had Rocky Mountain oysters?
Yeah, in Colorado.
Really?
Yeah.
You went and got testicles.
I went there just for that.
Now, do you get them fresh and raw, or were they prepared?
Yeah, I had to chew them off the animal.
Oh, good God.
No, Yeah, I had a little steered bull testicle ceviche.
Now that's how you do a real rodeo.
Yeah.
You take your haunches and you clamp down on the
You
the
grab
bull
that.
testicle.
You grab that bull by the hind legs, and you just
You let
right
it
onto
drag
the
you around.
testes.
If you can last for 8 seconds, you're a champ.
Yeah.
How are those?
Fine.
Okay.
I'm not clamoring to have them again. You know, it's like
What's the texture of that like?
it's
Chewy or stiff?
it's
You know, getting uncomfortable talking.
they were fried, so it's a little bit kind of like it's kind of like a spongy tissue, you know, but like it's not like I'm not talking like big air pockets, but you know, I don't know, it just is, it's fine.
Like a Butterfinger?
no, not like a Butterfinger.
Yeah. Well, I'm out.
You know, it's yeah.
I only eat stuff that tastes like Butterfinger. So, Ada, you're a pretty adventurous eater.
Yeah.
I gotta ask though, would you eat some slow roasted art meat?
Are you
Would you eat some slow roasted meat?
Are you soliciting me? Is that what this is?
No, Andy.
Oh.
We haven't gotten that far yet.
No.
We haven't been trapped down here that long.
Boy, would I eat human flesh?
Oh my God.
It's an interesting question.
You really are pondering this.
Where do you draw the line?
I draw it.
I mean, I wouldn't eat it because it's wrong. Because so you know, it's weird. But what about other animals? Where do you draw the line? Would you eat a dog?
No.
Why?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe if it was prepared really nicely.
Would you eat a horse?
I don't think that like dog, horse, and other types of like that kind of gamey meat are eaten out of delicacy. If I'm wrong, I think they're eaten kind of out of necessity because that's what's around.
In Central America, it's not uncommon, or South America, it's not uncommon to eat guinea pig.
Yeah, I mean, lots of cultures eat bugs, and I'm okay with eating bugs.
Yeah.
In fact, I've started eating cricket protein bars, and I want to get my hands on some powder. But I still haven't gotten to eating actual full roasted crickets, though I would try them. Great source of iron and protein. But Andy,
would I eat your flesh? No, I would feel weird about it.
Okay, thank you.
But if it was an emergency, maybe.
Well, Mr. Bunker didn't think the same, let me tell you.
He ate part of your body?
I mean, I don't know. Let's just say, Andy, that I might need to go to the hospital after today's capture.
Okay.
Because I was out walking around, and I thought, you know, it's been fucking lovely here in Chicagoland.
Beautiful.
It's been warm. It's that kind of low, mid-70s, but there's a strong breeze. So even if you get hot walking around, that breeze is there to cool you off.
Just lift your arms and let that breeze air out your pits.
That's right. Or like I do, I kind of splay my legs out really far and let it cool down my nether regions.
Yeah, I usually sit down on a park bench and just starfish. Let that breeze
face forward,
circulate.
Belly towards the thing like an actual starfish.
Oh yeah, you got to put your butt up in because it gets sweaty back there too.
Yeah,
I got the swamp ass.
So I was taking a little walk and I decided to go to a forest preserve. And listen, Andy, I like to think, you know, I went through a bit of Boy Scouts, but I guess maybe I've forgotten some of my training and I went off the path a little bit. And, you know, maybe I saw like a little deer and I wanted to chase the deer or something. I don't know. Yay.
Was this a hunting scenario?
No, I just was having frolicking fun in the forest preserve.
Okay.
And I went off the path, which is the point I'm trying to make is you shouldn't do that. And so I go off the path and I'm starting to get lost.
Yeah.
And in the distance, I see what looks like a fire. And I think to myself, oh, good. There's probably some other campers out here. Maybe
Was this at night?
No, it was during the day. Maybe it was you could see fire during the day.
Sure.
You could see smoke and fire during the day.
Okay.
Listen. You know what, Andy? This is my experience. This is what your experience.
It's fine. I suddenly had this feeling that maybe this was happening at night.
No.
Okay.
And so I think, okay, good. There's some other campers. There's someone who works for the Forest Preserve. Someone's out there. I'm gonna go see what's up. Maybe they can get me back on the path so I can go home. And so I'm walking. All of a sudden, Andy, I step in a pile of leaves, and whoosh. I'm flipped upside down into the air. My ankle is trapped in some kind of snare.
You've got like a rope now
Yes.
around. Oh no!
And I'm trapped upside down, hanging back and forth. And wouldn't you know it, that camper was none other than Mr. Bunker.
He lured you with the two things he knew you couldn't resist.
And I just said, listen, Mr. Bunker, we can talk about this. I will come peacefully. We can talk about this. And he just said nothing. He just had that look in his eyes that you've seen countless times now, and I've seen countless times. And he just whacked me over the head with a branch.
Oh,
and I went out
head
cold.
trauma. Yeah.
And as I came to, I felt very uncomfortable because, well, Mr. Bunker had skewered me and he was roasting me over an open flame.
He put a skewer through your body?
I don't know how. I don't know what happened.
In which, like, lengthwise?
Oh, yeah. The whole way. I felt something deep down my throat and through my butt. And I was skewered and I was being...
Was it one solid skewer?
Andy, I don't know. I was so dizzy from waking up. I didn't know if I was in some kind of dreamlike state. And I was being roasted over some fire.
Why is he trying to cook you? He deep fried you alive
I don't know.
week.
And I said, this is, I was so confused. I had like a little apple in my mouth, and my feet were tied with those little, like when they roast turkeys and they put little hats over the bones where their legs are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had those on my hands. And they kept getting caught on fire.
That spit, like, pierced your internal organs, undoubtedly.
I mean, I'm here now and I feel fine, but
You've probably got massive hemorrhaging inside your body.
who knows?
I don't...
And I don't know why he felt the need to roast me like a fucking pig over some open coals. I don't know if he's trying to teach me a lesson. And then he had a little chef hat on. He was stirring a big pot of stew underneath me. And I was like, what are you doing? And he just didn't answer.
This is like a Looney Tunes, a Merry Melodies cartoon.
I know. And then a timer went off and he left me off the spit and I fell into the stew and then he carried me here. So all I say is don't eat any hot food down here today.
Oh.
Because it could have your my
blood and
my flesh.
Shit in it.
I don't have any burn marks or anything. I feel fine, but I don't know what happened to me. And I don't know the greater picture here, if he's trying to teach us a lesson or if, I did something wrong. I don't know what I did wrong because I'm usually pretty complacent, whereas you're maybe he's trying to punish me through your actions because you're always challenging him.
Maybe he's trying to punish me by hurting you.
Yeah, but he doesn't realize that you don't care.
I don't have empathy. It doesn't matter to me.
So anyway, that's how you got me this week, Andy.
Jesus, this is probably the most grisly thing
the most
he's ever
heinous.
done.
The most heinous for sure. I mean, hitting us in the head is pretty bad.
Head trauma is bad.
He didn't really need to. He already had me. He didn't need to roast me alive.
Look, I wasn't winning a Nobel Prize anyway. I don't think it matters that much to me. But I mean, you can have hospital bills from this.
Possibly. Who knows? I don't know what's going on in his head.
Also, it's weird that he left you sitting in a pot of boiling water on the trip here, and then he's going to eat that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
This is weird.
Yeah, this is weird.
He's got some, I don't know, bizarre art eating fetish.
Yeah, I mean, there's something going on here for sure.
Yeah.
But
boy,
I don't know.
Guess we'll have to wait to find out.
We're going to have to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to have to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Because if this has to continue, there's just...
I mean, The other stuff was criminal,
Sure.
but he could have murdered you.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Andy, I could have been dead.
It seems like he was trying to murder you.
Well, he didn't finish cooking me. He was slow roasting me, so it was a low heat.
It was a small fire.
Yeah, it was a small fire. I mean, it was a low heat, but I could still feel it.
Sure.
He skewered me, put an apple in my mouth.
Yeah.
The apple was good.
He let you eat the
It
apple?
was a Honeycrisp.
He let you eat the apple?
Yeah.
All these freaking times he's like taking food out of my mouth. Meanwhile, you get to eat an apple and I'm going to have to eat it.
Well, there's a time he gave you bad clams.
Yeah, exactly. And that gave me diarrhea.
Well, I don't know, Andy. Something weird. He's in a mood this week.
Yeah.
Can't explain it.
I'm
just glad you wouldn't eat my flesh, so you wouldn't join in.
I had a much
Tamer?
yeah, I don't.
Okay.
He's in a mood with you, but he's fine with me.
I'm glad you guys are fixed. Your relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Not your bodies.
I was fixed by nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's a wild story, Art.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, I suppose the only thing I can do is tell you how I got here this week.
Oh, yes. Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear how tame this really is.
Well, I can only imagine that
Can only imagine when that day comes, will I walk gently by your side.
Savior's hands.
Savior's hands. Christian rock. Make you sing Christian rock?
Yep, that was it.
Contemporary Christian rock
And
music?
I went willingly like the Pied Piper. No, this morning I decided to treat myself and go on an architectural boat cruise. As I usually do on.
Can I say real quick that the Chicago Architecture Boat Cruise is fantastic?
There's a lot of.
If you're gonna come to Chicago and as a tourist, go on the Architecture Boat Cruise. It's really fun.
This is a great time of year to do it. The river's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
The architecture is stunning.
It's a fun tour.
And you learn a lot.
You learn a lot.
The city where you live or that you're visiting.
That's right.
And I decide, you know what? I'm gonna do as I normally do on the weekends, eschew my family and go do something for me.
Shirk all responsibility and treat yourself.
Yeah. And so I decided to go to the architectural boat cruise.
Sure.
And I'm on this boat, and boy, oh boy, I thought, it's this time of year. There's probably lots of tourists. But you know what? Nobody else on this boat. And I was like,
wow.
I'm like, early in the morning, though, I probably made a good choice.
Yeah.
Coming here, the first available ticket that I could get. And so I'm thinking, you know what? This is going to be great. I'm going to get a personalized tour. So the boat takes off. The tour guide hasn't come out yet, but there's like instructions coming over the PA in the boat. And we start going down the river, and there's facts are being told. Seeing a lot of great things.
You're seeing the Opera House. You're seeing the carbon. What's the carbon? The Carbine Building?
Yeah, the Carbine Building. I'm
Printer's
hearing about.
Row.
I'm hearing about how this is all landfill.
Wrigley. Chicago was built on a stinky onion swamp.
And they had to dig holes and fill the dirt in to make more land.
The name Chicago from the Native American language literally means doesn't it mean like stinky swamp?
Yeah, something like that.
Like shitty stinky swamp.
Yeah. And
not when you're passing the Hershey chocolate building, let me tell you. Is it Hershey's or is it just the chocolate?
And it smells, it's a building made of chocolate. And it is delightful.
Oh, yeah. So you're having a great time.
Having a great time. The cruise keeps going. The boat starts to leave the loop area.
Okay.
And I'm like,
It's odd.
I've done a tour like this before. This is unusual.
Okay.
So it goes out into Lake Michigan, and gradually the city starts to fade.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Okay.
But maybe you're going to go out to one of those lighthouses that are
Yeah.
out in the distance.
The facts are all about the locks and, how they work
You're still on board.
how they manage the lakeshore.
Maybe this is something they're doing to the tour to attract new.
It's less architectural, but
Sure.
it's, whatever.
Okay.
It's a Chicago thing. Then gradually that all starts to fade too. And then the tour guide appears and it's Bunker.
Oh my God.
And then all the power goes off on the boat.
Well, that's not good.
and he just gets one of those great big long poles and like a river barge.
A gondola?
Yeah, and just starts shoving this down a tributary. And we sailed all the way here.
You got a lovely gondola tour, and I got roasted like a fucking pig.
Yeah, I mean there were no refreshments on the boat, but which is kind of a
Oh, fuck
annoying,
you.
but-
Overpriced refreshments.
I mean, just a bottle of water, please.
You got a lovely fucking boat cruise.
He didn't even abuse me. I suffered no head trauma this week.
Wow. What the fuck?
It was not, I mean, as far as abductions go.
Andy, I think I just realized why he captured us in the way that he did this week.
Why? What do you think?
Here's the thing. I got roasted over a skewer like a
Like a pig.
like a pig or some other kind of meat you would have to do. And you took a boat, which relates heavily to how the native people of Easter Island would have to have survived and traveled to the island, which is related to today's topic.
You think it's a theme?
It could have been a theme.
Wow. That's
The Rapa Nui people, as we'll discuss, had to travel by boat and had to survive on what was, termed by the Europeans as Easter Island, but according to them is just called Rapa Nui. But that could be the connection that we're looking for.
maybe he thinks that you're mean to me and he's roasting you like a pig.
No, I don't think
for
that's it at all.
Constantly calling me a pig.
No, I don't think that's it at all. I called you pig once, and you've brought it up yourself.
Probably
You bring it up
at
on
least
yourself.
4 times more than you.
You know what? You call a guy a pig once, and you just never fucking hear the end of it.
Call a man a pig and he'll bring it up a whole bunch of times. Teach a man to be a pig. And then you can eat him.
Yeah. Well, listeners, why don't we... I bet the listeners are hungry to eat too, Andy. For
Listeners, you getting rumblies in your tumblies?
getting some rumblies, and you ready for that whole enchilada that
Ooh,
Andy and I are going to
baby.
deliver to you.
Ooh, baby.
It's a good one. And so let's not delay any further. Let's
We're gonna
set out
make
the
you a delicious
placemats.
Easter egg enchilada.
Oh, you're ready for it.
With a-
Go find those eggs. We hit them real good.
oh, yeah. You'll never find them.
You'll never find our eggs.
You'll never get our Lucky Charms.
They're magically delicious.
Die.
Oh, these kids are trying to touch me Lucky Charms.
Shout out to all our Irish listeners.
We're sorry. We apologize in advance.
Oh, Faith and Bagora.
Oh boy. Anyway, listeners, here is Easter Island.
Art, today we're talking about one small island in the vast Pacific Ocean. It's an island that has captivated researchers who are drawn to its enigmatic history. As you know, as I know, as the listeners know, which I guess makes this whole coy setup kind of a sham, if I'm being honest. Today our topic is Easter Island.
That's right.
Art, listeners, Easter Island is a fairly remote island in the Pacific, somewhat famously known for its large monolithic statues called moai. Art, as someone who is also famous for a gigantic head, by which I mean your runaway ego.
Okay.
What are your initial thoughts on Easter Island?
Andy, I think my verdict on today's topic is it's gonna shock a lot of people.
Oh.
Maybe not. Compared to some of my past verdicts, I think you're gonna see some very similar line of thought. I'm gonna be honest. I read through the research and I was sort of like, meh.
Oh.
I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't see. I think not that it's not that it's boring. I just think that it's pretty cut and dry, in my opinion. I think that these the moai are very cool. They're really neat. It's crazy that ancient peoples would. There's like 900 of them, which I didn't know.
It's a lot of them.
There's a fucking lot of them.
We'll talk about this.
There
listeners.
are all over that island, and it's both incredible and mind-boggling that just that these ancient peoples would just carve these statues all day long.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, they're well done, and a lot of interesting archaeology.
Yeah,
so that's what I think.
Okay, well, that's those are some good first impressions. Thank you, Art. Listeners, also, you prepare to have your minds boggle, as we dig in here. So, Art, let me give you the real story.
Okay.
Easter Island forms one of the corners of the Polynesian Triangle, a large area of the Pacific with over 1,000 islands.
Wow.
Which is home to the Polynesian people. Easter Island got the name Easter Island from the Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen, who made first European contact with the island on April 5th, 1722, Easter Sunday. The native inhabitants of Easter Island, the Rapa Nui people, call the island Rapa Nui, and so shall we henceforth, and already did before. But anyway, by the way, in the native language called Rapa Nui means Big Rapa.
Like Parappa the Rappa?
I like it when you call me Big Rapa. These days, Rapa Nui is a part of Chile. The Chileans call it Isla de Pascua.
So, Andy, you're telling me that the mystery of this island is all about what we should call it.
No, Art, just call it Rapa Nui.
Okay, I will.
The mystery is all about the Rapa Nui people.
Okay.
How'd they get there? Where'd they come from? How'd they build all them dang statues? And why?
Well, Andy, I don't want to brag, but I've watched apes have sex, so I'm basically an archaeologist at this point. Let me try to answer some of your so eloquently put questions.
Thank you.
The Rapa Nui have been the subject of considerable debate among researchers. The current prevailing scientific opinion is that the Rapa Nui island was inhabited by Polynesian people beginning as late as 1200 CE. This date is based on modern radiocarbon dating techniques, and other estimates of the inhabitation range from 300 CE to the aforementioned 1200 CE. So we're working on a bit of a timeline here. I mean, we got some range.
It's a big range, yeah.
Basically, the jury is still out about exactly when people began to inhabit Rapa Nui. Rapa Nui oral traditions, Andy, by which I mean traditional stories of the Rapa Nui people passed down by word of mouth, not an old-fashioned blowjob. Common mix-up. They tell of a chief named Hotu Matue who sailed 2 canoes to the island with his wife and his family. It's worth mentioning just how remote Rapa Nui is. The island's nearest inhabited neighbor is Chile's Juan Fernandez Islands, which are 1,150 miles away. I don't know how many that is in kilometers. Figure it out yourself.
This is Mr. Bunker's conspiracy time podcast, not Mr. Bunker's math conversion podcast.
The coast of Chile itself is 2,180 miles away. Polynesian people, though, were known to be exceptional navigators, sailing to colonize a wide area of the Pacific. So there may have been some truth to this legend, despite the remoteness of the island. Polynesians, by the way, are a subset of the Austronesian peoples, which is a large a large ethno-linguistic group of peoples in Oceania, Southeast Asia, Madagascar, and Taiwan who speak Austronesian languages. Austronesians were the first humans to invent ocean-going sailing technology, which came in quite handy in Polynesia and in this story, Andy.
Yeah.
Hotu Matue allegedly hailed from an island called Hiva in the Marquesas, which is a group of islands in the South Pacific, now part of French Polynesia. The legend says that Hotu Matue was told about the island by his tattooist, who flew to Rapa Nui in a dream and described its location in detail.
Ooh.
So a lot of skills on that guy.
Yeah, that guy had a lot of different professions.
Oh, yeah. According to tradition, Hotu Matue and crew sailed for 2 months and landed on the island right where the tattooist said it would be. The Rapa Nui say that Hotu Matue set up a government ruled by kings who enjoyed absolute dominion over the island. Hotu Matue was the first king, naturally.
Of course.
You know. The society ruled over by these kings was responsible for the construction of the massive statues on the island called the moai. Scientists believe that the most active moai construction was between 1250 CE and 1500 CE. Moai are supposed to represent the Rapa Nui ancestors and were important status symbols for the chiefs who commissioned their construction. Most of the moai are carved from volcanic rock called tuff. Or tuff.
Tough.
Tuff.
Tough.
A reddish stone called scoria, scoria, was eventually used in the later age of moai building to create pukao, which represented hair in a top knot. Very fashionable statues. It is believed that the pukao were added to the moai to enhance their stature, to honor the person that the moai represents. So, there you go, Andy. I answered all your questions, and we can go home.
Okay, well, Art, that certainly was a lot of good information.
Thank you.
But did you really answer all of my questions?
What you talking about, Andy?
Now, look, I don't want to seem dickish here. I don't want it to look like I'm just being contrarian just to be contrarian, even though I do that all the time.
That's your MO.
I do think, though, that we owe the listeners some information on alternatives to the mainstream opinions about Rapa Nui. So let's dive a little deeper. The first question I asked you, Art, was, how did people get to Rapa Nui? Okay, so there's pretty much only one way, and that's by boat. One mystery solved. The next question I asked you was, where did these people come from? As you say, the prevailing archaeological answer today is that the people came from Polynesia. Is it possible, however, that the settlers of Rapa Nui came from South America?
Well, conventional wisdom, along with lots of evidence, suggests that Polynesia was settled from west to east. So the fact that Polynesians settled on Rapa Nui suggests that no, the settlers did not come from South America.
Okay, but let's consider the evidence. First, the stonework. While the moai statues are consistent with other statue building in parts of Polynesia, there is at least one example of stonework on the island that seems to be out of place. At a place called Vinapu, the islanders constructed an ahu. Ahus are the platforms on which the moai rest. The ahu at Vinapu is constructed of large basalt blocks. The ahu reminded researcher Thor Heyerdahl of similar stonework that he'd seen in South America. Heyerdahl became famous, by the way, for his Kon-Tiki expedition, in which he sailed a handmade raft 5,000 miles from the coast of Peru to French Polynesia. Thor's hypothesis is based on megalithic works at a site in modern-day Bolivia called Tiwanaku. The similarity between the works at Tiwanaku and at Vinapu are quite evident. Heyerdahl suggests that there is an Incan legend of a god named Viracocha, who was head of a group of mythical men who built Tiwanaku. Viracocha and his men were eventually attacked and fled west to the coast, finally taking to the waters and never being seen again. In Heyerdahl's telling, Viracocha and his gang of merry builders sailed on, colonizing and building on many Polynesian locations, including Hawaii, New Zealand, Tahiti, Samoa, and, of course, Rapa Nui. Researcher Brian Forrester sees the Vinipu-Ahu as evidence of lost ancient technology. He believes the Vinipu-Ahu, as well as moai carved from basalt, are older than the moai and ahus carved from volcanic tuff. Forrester claims that the tools utilized by the Rapa Nui are insufficient for cutting basalt, which is a fairly hard rock. He argues that the ability to work in basalt has been lost to the more modern Polynesian inhabitants, but was possessed by ancient peoples on the island who were likely the same as or related to the builders of Tiwanaku.
Tiwanaku is certainly a mystery, Andy, and who knows? Maybe one day Mr. Bunker will see it fit for us to investigate further. But for now, we got to keep talking about the Rapa Nui. Okay. So as for the Rapa Nui, there's really no proof that the basalt stoneworks are older than the volcanic tuff stoneworks. And while it's an interesting similarity, it's possible that the Rapa Nui had contact with South American people and learned more advanced stoneworking techniques from them. Perhaps the Rapa Nui increased their stonework skills naturally. I mean, after all, they carved more than 900 moai. I'd say that's like an expert level. You would hope after all that time.
You'd think you'd figure it out. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. But Art, let's not forget to eat our vegetables.
Oh, man. Do I have to?
Vegetables, such as the humble sweet potato, which I just think is neat. The sweet potato originated in South America and was a staple in Polynesian diets, even before European contact.
Is that a Simpsons reference?
What, that a potato is neat?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does Marge say that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think anyway. Well, recent evidence, Andy, indicates that the sweet potatoes enjoyed by Polynesian people diverged genetically from South American sweet potatoes before Polynesia was even inhabited. So the prevailing opinion is that natural long-distance dispersal explains the reach of the sweet potato. Not that this eliminates the possibility of any type of contact between Polynesian people and American people, South American people.
It certainly does not. How about genetics, Art?
Okay.
While genetic testing shows that Polynesian DNA, including that held by the Rapa Nui, is more closely related to the people of Southeast Asia than people from South America, recent testing of modern-day Rapa Nui people indicates a South American DNA signature dating back to about the time Rapa Nui was colonized. Also, ancient skulls found in Brazil were found to have only Polynesian DNA, 100%. There is also some disputed evidence of pre-Columbian chicken bones found in South America, which might indicate that Polynesians introduced chickens to the Americas.
Well, Andy, given all that evidence, maybe it's possible that Polynesian people sailed to South America, made some contact, and maybe made a little bit of other stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Sex.
Yeah. And
Human
then
sex.
sailed to Rapa Nui and colonized it.
Oh.
The next question you asked me was, and I quote Andy, how'd they build all them dang statues? That is me, Andy Hort.
If you built a moai, you might be a Rapa Nui.
Jeff Foxworthy, everyone. I think that we've already kind of discussed there's some speculation around this topic, but nothing that was impossible, based on known abilities of Polynesian people of the time. In fact, in Thor Heyerdahl's book, Aku Aku, The Secret of Eastern Island, what did I say?
Eastern Island?
Easter Island, sorry. Modern-day Rapa Nui demonstrate how to carve a moai using the tools and techniques of their ancestors. One topic that's certainly been hotly debated, though, is how the Rapa Nui moved the statues around the island. I mean, these things are fucking huge.
Yeah, and this has been very sexily debated by any number of archaeologists.
Yeah.
In his book, Chariots of the Gods, researcher Erica von Daniken suggests that Rapa Nui didn't support a population of sufficient scale to undertake the carving and moving of these enormous statues, let alone producing them on the scale seen on Rapa Nui. The implication in the book is that extraterrestrial intervention, either directly or indirectly through now lost advanced technology, can help explain this. Von Daniken suggests that Rapa Nui could only support a population of about 2,000 people total. That, combined with a lack of trees, makes for an environment where moving monolithic statues is maybe impossible without some additional unknown element.
Andy, it's worth mentioning that Von Daniken's book was first published in 1968, well before some more recent information was known about the Rapa Nui. While it's true that when Europeans arrived, Rapa Nui had a relatively small population and the island was treeless, that wasn't always the case. In fact, more modern estimates put the upper limits of the population on Rapa Nui closer to 20,000.
Oh.
The island was also used to be covered in palm trees. There's strong evidence, though, that the Rapa Nui either directly or inadvertently brought about the end of the palm forest on Rapa Nui, which caused a decline in population numbers. When the Rapa Nui settled on Rapa Nui, they introduced a lot of new things into the environment, including the Polynesian rat.
The dance?
No, Andy, not the dance.
Oh, the animal.
The animal. These rats, much like me, Andy, fuck early and often and get the job done in terms of offspring. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I got a lot of babies out there.
Your children.
In an environment like Rapa Nui, these rats faced no natural predators, so the rats were free to multiply like crazy.
Just like you.
Just
no
like
natural
me.
predators.
The Rapa Nui themselves weren't helping matters by cutting down globs and gobs of palm trees for all kinds of purposes, including plain old-fashioned deforestation for agricultural purposes.
Aw. Ancient people just like us.
Just like us. Seems like some things never change. And that's relevant now more than ever.
The Amazon's burning.
That's
everybody.
right. The rats love to eat the seeds of the trees, which prevented any chance at reforestation. It's believed that these factors led, at least in part, to the decline in Rapa Nui population, which was observed by Europeans. Speaking of Europeans, they also killed a lot of Rapa Nui with disease and a thriving slave trade.
Wow, so unlike Europeans to do stuff like that.
So unlike them. As for moving the statues themselves, a number of teams, including one led by Thor Heyerdahl, have successfully moved moai on Rapa Nui using ancient techniques and teams of people that could have teams of people that could have come from the small number of inhabitants suggested by Eric von Daniken. I don't know why I have so much trouble.
I think what you're trying to say, Art, is that they've moved these statues even with a number of people that would have been within the population, even the tiny number that Eric von Daniken
They used a small number of people and they could still do it.
Yeah.
Moving the statues, that is.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Art, my last question to you was a simple why? Why go to all this trouble and mobilize an entire society to engage in the construction of giant statues? As you say, Art, the moai were ostensibly created to honor the ancestors of the Rapa Nui. There are those who think, though, that statues like these were constructed to represent extraterrestrials who visited the Rapa Nui in the ancient past and provided them with this now lost technology or advanced their civilization. Perhaps the moai were constructed to entice them to return. I know we're far out on this one, but does mainstream science have a better answer? After all, Rapa Nui quarried volcanic tuff in one key location on the island, then moved the moai to all their various resting places. The scoria used for the pukao was quarried from a completely different location.
Well, archaeologist Carl Lipo has recently proposed that the locations of the ahus and therefore the moai may relate to sources of fresh water on Rapa Nui. Perhaps the immense work that went into the moai was a culmination of a few different needs in the Rapa Nui society. A practical element of... I'm having trouble today, listeners. Let me tell you.
So unusual for you.
Yeah. I'm all tongue-tied. A practical element of highlighting sources of fresh water. They could have represented a spiritual element in honoring of ancestors, or an industry element in the production of such huge works, and a community element in the cooperation required to complete such tasks. Maybe the real answer here, Andy, is that we don't give ancient people enough credit in their ingenuity.
Well, Art, one thing is definitely for certain. Rapa Nui is a place of mystery, and a place that is being continually investigated by researchers from all swaths of life. Even with modern technology and recent discoveries, Rapa Nui retains its mystique. Will we ever be able to definitively answer any of the questions posed here today? All we can hope is that the moai someday come to life and share with us all the juicy secrets of Rapa Nui.
Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time podcast will be right back after this brief message.
Hey, listeners, this is Andy.
Hey, this is Art.
Hey, we're coming at you right now, not to advertise,
No.
just to tell you thank you. We're so glad that you're here. We're so happy that you're listening.
Every listen, every download, it really means a lot to us because we want to make the best podcast for you.
Take a moment. Let people know what you think. Share this with your friends. We'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, listeners. And you know what? We don't want to take up any more of your time, so let's get back to the show. Hey, okay. Welcome back, listeners.
Oh boy, we were just having a laugh here.
We're having a laugh. Listeners, welcome back. That was our research of Easter Island, aka Rapa Nui. Andy, you got a head as big as those moai. Gonna roll you down a hill and set you up on an ahoo.
Ahoo!
Hey now.
Hey now.
Andy, let's get some basic thoughts here, because let me
Okay.
tell you,
Wow.
don't look for a crazy verdict from me, but I'm not impressed.
Whoa. With what? The statue building?
No, I just think that this is a pretty cut and dry one.
Wow.
To me personally, I think this is pretty cut and dry. There's
So
not
you're
a
going
lot.
to come here and you're going to tell me that you're Mr. Mainstream Science on this?
Might be.
All right, but let's... Okay.
But for the sake of discussion and for the sake of having a podcast,
You know what I want to talk about first? Let's talk about why
the dingo.
there's... Did it eat your baby?
Yeah.
I want to talk about why there's so many alternative history suggestions in this one, because I think there's some contributing factors.
Well, I think I can think of one contributing factor.
What?
A little smooch, a little scooch, a little scooch of racism.
Well, okay.
Doing a little racism.
All right. We're going to get to the racism in time.
Just a little bit.
We're going to get to the racism in time.
The racism.
We're going to definitely get to the racism.
Just a scooch.
But let's talk about let's go back to the beginning though.
Sure.
Let's talk about Easter Island itself.
Yeah,
This is a very remote island.
Kind of like not a place you really want to settle down.
So there's some key questions, right? When you say
It's a piece of volcanic rock.
it's there's like 3 dormant volcanoes there.
It's just
And
like
it's just a big it's not even that big.
things couldn't really grow there. Like they
had
well, then they also they tried to bring over other animals and they just were not fucking gutting it. And only chickens really chickens and the rats could survive around there.
Yeah, I mean, but I think there's a lot of factors at play there. Obviously, human intervention changed things dramatically.
Sure.
But it's such a remote place.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you've got to consider that
You got to live off the land.
there couldn't be huge populations of anything because it's not a giant island, and there's a finite limit to the resources that it's going to be able to support.
Sure.
But one thing that I want to say is that we know that it was inhabited by people. Obviously, there's some disagreement even amongst mainstream scientists about when exactly
Huge
people
date range.
began. Yeah, I mean, we're talking. People claim to have found. Thor Heyerdahl says he found, pieces of like burnt ash or like charcoal
From bongs.
from freaking huge ass bongs.
That's what the moai really were.
And then
They're just fucking bongs.
They ripped them hard.
They ripped them hard.
That's why they tore down all those palm trees, was for lighting those bongs.
Yeah, lighting up doobies.
But he claims to have found like a piece of charcoal in a fireplace that was dated, at the time, this is like in the 60s or 50s or somewhere in there, to 400 CE. So there's variance even in like people who are doing at least some modicum of scientific testing on this stuff. But the real question, I think, is no matter what, how did people know it was there?
I mean,
when you think about it, think about where
I've looked at it. I spent a lot of time looking at Google Maps. Like a weird amount of time being like, whoa. But like you start looking around there and you're like, okay, there's French Polynesia and it's kind of near, New Zealand. And and there's like a bunch of there's like a fuck ton of little islands all over the place.
Yeah, there's a lot of little islands. I mean, the Pitcairn Islands are like nearby. The
Adamstown.
Juan Fernandez Islands are nearby. And when I say nearby, it's like inside of 2,000 miles, which is nearby to Easter Island. But that's as close as stuff gets.
That being said, I can see, like, I'm no sailor. I'm no seaman. Andy.
I'm for sure no seaman. Says that on my medical records.
Hello, welcome to the restaurant. Would you like seaman or no seaman seating area?
I'll sit in the seaman area.
No seaman for me. I'm no seaman.
I'll sit in the seaman area. Just like a smoking section, it smells funny and everything's got a yellow tint to it.
Oh no, Andy, you gotta get that checked out. I'm no sailor though. Okay, I don't fucking know the first thing about motherfucking boats.
Right.
I don't know how to read the stars. I don't know what currents are.
You don't know how to read anything.
I can barely read English. I'm a bad reader. It takes me a long time to read. And it puts me to sleep. What's wrong with me?
That's why he only looks at maps.
Yeah, I love looking at maps. I can see those shapes and I get that, but you gotta tell me to read the names? Fuck no. Fuck that shit. I'm no sailor. I don't know how to do any of this shit. I don't know how to build a boat.
Yeah.
These people were experts at it.
Mm-hmm.
We know that.
Mm-hmm.
Polynesian people, that is like the part of their so ingrained in their society and their history, the biggest part about the that Moana film, which is, kind of represented by it sort of represents a lot of Polynesian culture that film was meant to represent. Did you see Moana?
I haven't seen Moana.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of movies, so don't. I mean,
it's like a kid's film.
Listeners, don't take that in any way. I didn't specifically not watch it,
but like a big part of the story of Moana is actually the story. It relates to this story of Easter Island. It's like there's this, she has to like go sail on this big adventure and like go find this island, and their whole like. They were just really fucking good at sailing. And these ships that they could build were fucking huge.
Mm-hmm.
These weren't like little fucking dinky ass, little fucking bitch ass rafts,
Right.
These were like fucking ships, man.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers, like, they just, I don't know how they did it, but it's just the wood, like, combination of like, they needed to get fish because fish was abundant. They were on an island. The wood that they were working with maybe is like super good for building ships. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have a fucking scientist tell me that.
Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs, but all we know. What? Go ahead.
No. Continue. I'm just making hand gestures.
Okay. Just gesture while I speak. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gesturing.
This is how Italian you are. You have to make hand gestures while other people talk.
Yeah.
Austronesian people apparently were the first humans to be able to set sail on the oceans, which is like a stunning development. So, when you think about this historically, by the time that people would have been coming to Rapa Nui, they would have had a lot of time to refine these skills. The Polynesians apparently a lot of this knowledge of how to navigate the ocean has been lost as Polynesian people have had less reason to use it.
Right.
Because as the culture has changed, a lot of that this technology has been lost.
It's like,
because it was sort of a like it was like a master apprentice kind of a thing. Like you were a master sailor, you were the ship's captain, and then you taught an apprentice how to like navigate by the stars at night. Like they
how to like look at the fish.
Yeah, they look at the fish. They look at the currents of the water, so they can identify where there's
the
land.
Wind.
Yeah, based on all this stuff.
Birds.
Yeah, birds. I think were a big part of it.
Birds were probably a huge one because the birds know where to go.
Yeah.
Regardless,
there was even some speculation that they might have brought like specific types of birds.
Yeah, like
on
little
the
pigeons
ships with
and
them.
shit.
You know, birds that will only go to land, that they won't keep flying in the water. So it would come back to the boat if there was no land nearby. So they could have gotten within range of Rapa Nui. A bird flies out, and then they're like, oh.
And who's to say that they didn't have little scouting ships and all sorts of other different... Here's the thing. We're not sailors. Okay?
We're not sailors.
That's what we're trying to get across. I can see how they would make it from French Polynesia to either this island. There's tons of little islands that they could have stopped at. We have such a wide range of when they fucking arrive that who knows if they fucking like sent out a scouting team that arrived there in like 900 or whatever, 400 CE or whatever the fuck the first date was. And then like, people like waited like, oh, well, we sent that scouting team out like 100 years ago and they never came back.
Oh, this was like a competent Roanoke situation.
Yeah. Let's send another team out to go find them. And then it's like they just start understanding where all the little islands are as like little rest stops along the way. And they eventually, or they miss it completely and they go to Chile. And they're in Chile first and they're fucking hanging around Chile and they're, everyone's hanging out, having a good time. They, the ancient Polynesian peoples are starting to have sex with some of the ancient South America peoples. Everything's getting groovy. Everything's getting cool. They're like, hey, we brought rats. And like, hey, we got chickens. And then they're like, yo, you want some?
They would have had both the rats and the chickens.
We got rats and chickens. Yeah. And we're horny.
Just keep in mind, chickens, not native to the Americas, pre-Columbian.
Right. My mistake. I'm trying to think of what the Chileans would have had. They would have been like, oh, here's some more advanced stone carving techniques. And they're like, cool, you want to fucking trade? And then
we got alpacas.
Yeah, alpacas. Watch out, they spit. And then
touch them, they're soft.
Such soft fur. To all our alpaca listeners out there, keep doing what you're doing.
Would you eat an alpaca?
Probably.
Alpaca meatballs?
Maybe.
I'll pack a few of those in my mouth.
Oh, Christ. God fucking damn it. Anyway, I could see the ancient South American peoples being like, hey, there's this volcanic island, by the way, out there you guys might be interested in.
There seems to be some evidence that people in, like, say, Chile or Peru or Bolivia, somewhere that's, in that more western part of South America, that they did know about Rapa Nui.
Right, because it's closer to that coast than it is to French Polynesia or New Zealand.
It doesn't seem necessarily, there's no evidence that South Americans colonized it.
Right.
But there's evidence maybe that they knew about it. And it's like it's all sort of through traditional stories and things.
Right. And maybe they land in Chile and they're like hanging out a bit. Everyone's having sex. Everyone's having a good time. They're trading. Some of the Polynesians go off into Brazil and be like, what the fuck's going on out here? And then maybe somewhere along the line, one of them is like, yo, should we go find that island that your fucking tattooist was thinking about? Like that one that they dreamed about? Or maybe like one of the Chileans is like, yeah, there's this island out here. And then some dude's like, holy shit, bro, that was the island that my tattoo artist was talking about. He is fucking rad as hell.
Yeah.
He can astral project himself across the planet. We got to go check out that island. And then they take a bunch of people and they go check it out.
Yeah.
Because I think it's also interesting that, we didn't really mention this in the script, but there are 7 moai statue that face outwards. They don't face inwards, right?
Yeah, they're it's like the central point of the island in terms of I'll say the the Polynesian government, and like this is the spiritual center.
Sure.
Most of the moai, are along the coast and face back in, and these moai are in the middle of the island and face outward.
They are supposed to represent like 7 different races, right? That's
Right.
in the
Hotu Matua allegedly
Pantheon.
brought 7 races of people with him, which became the 7 tribes of Rapa Nui.
So there's like 7 tribes. There's 7 different tribes of Rapa Nui kind of living on this island, right? And
Right.
who's to say that, like, you got 7 different tribes. Like, who's to say that some of them didn't branch off and then, like, go back to Chile? Or who's to say some didn't go do something else, their own thing? And, like, we didn't even talk about all the kind of, like, infighting that there was and the cannibalism, the wars that happened after all the resources left.
There's a lot of speculation about that.
There is?
Yeah. It's been sort of the prevailing opinion of mainstream science that when the palm tree forests were all gone, that people were left without materials to build canoes and get off the island, and it hampered their lifestyles in terms of fishing and that
Sure.
type of thing, because they couldn't build boats anymore.
Oh, without trees, you're fucked.
And so there's this speculation that because of all this, competition for resources got really high, and there was a lot of warfare between the people.
And they found archaeological digs found like what is it, obsidian?
They found a lot of
Arrowheads?
They found a lot of what they call arrowheads, but
spear tips.
that's not totally. People don't necessarily think all the way around that those were weapons, because the way that they're shaped, that they're less sharp, they're less like pointed. But some other researchers say that no, they definitely were used as weapons, because they find marks in people's skulls and stuff that align to these stone leavings.
Oh, who knows? You're stuck on an island with 20,000 people. Maybe those are just the island dickheads.
There probably was warfare between the people, but it's a question of how widespread was it.
the island actually guy just like stab him in the head.
And the cannibalism thing is much less. That's not an established fact.
Oh, okay.
But there's speculation that there was cannibalism.
I mean, when you got nothing else to eat, right?
But also what they find, though, is to sort of rebut this is, obviously they cleared a lot of land to engage in agriculture. So when resources dried up, the soil kind of got bad too when the trees were gone.
Yeah.
And
you're just overplanting the soil. It doesn't have time to regrow its nutrients.
Yeah. One thing that they did, though, was they started doing this technique called stone mulching, where they take like volcanic rocks and use it basically as mulch, and then those rocks have nutrients in them.
Oh, yeah.
And the plants will grow in the rocks.
Oh, I love eating those rocks.
So yeah, the rocks are delicious, by the way. So I don't know.
Well, but
that's part of the mystery, though, right?
But there's
That's another
also
mystery.
There's also the fact that their earlier idols were a little bit thinner, but as time went on, the idols kind of got fatter.
Yes.
They got way fatter and they got way lazier in the depiction.
Right.
The bodies were a lot less intricate and more just kind of like, just put a line. That's the body.
Yeah. And and
they had like big old fucking tummies and the thought and big fucking hard knockers. Pointy ass nips.
Yeah.
THO.
Real THO and all of the moai.
Oh, yeah. And, the thought is that these were depictions of
the ideal,
the gods or whatever. And so their gods would always be plentiful and full. And
when resources are scarce, you're
fucking obese.
Yeah. When resources are scarce, your ideal is a big fat guy.
Yeah.
And when resources are plentiful, your ideal is a very fit guy.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why you're the ideal. But once the worm turns, I'm going to be the ideal.
I mean, you said it.
Which I think there's something to it.
There's something to it.
And
And also, they wouldn't have had the energy to expel to finish carving these statues.
yeah, Carl Lippo, the archaeologist we mentioned in the research, also worked with a guy named Terry Hunt on Rapa Nui.
Mike Hunt.
Yeah,
His brother Mike Hunt.
his brother Mike. Terry Hunt and Carl
And
Lippo.
their cousin, Mike Hawk.
Yeah,
That's all of them.
don't forget Mike Hawk.
That's their family.
The whole family. They're all, and Terry Hunt and Carl Lippo are married, by the way. No, I don't know that's a fact, but they work together on Rapa Nui. And
And his
yeah, go ahead.
cousin, Cliff Suction. The liposuction family.
Cliff Suction. That one was more of a stretch.
Well, you're gonna have stretchy skin after
I
liposuction.
thought you were going to say something like Dick Johnson.
Nah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that low. Anyway, continue what you're saying.
Anyway, they kind of throw this out there that moai building was maybe a good project for the people on Rapa Nui.
You got 7 different tribes living together.
When they were faced with all of this adversity,
Yeah.
that this maybe helped keep things from getting worse than they were, from completely descending into chaos.
Guys, let's just fucking relax.
Because
Let's just go build a statue, guys.
make common cause, because we're honoring our common ancestors,
Yeah.
and we all have to do this together, and it's going to take the efforts of everybody. There's
It's like
still
when
a
somebody
king in
cuts
charge.
you off in traffic. What do you want to do? Invite that guy to go build a statue with you. Go build an effigy together.
That's what we do. We make a statue. By the time that Europeans arrived, the statue building had pretty much stopped, Art.
Oh, really?
By this time, people on Rapa Nui were part of this thing called the cult of the Birdman, where they had started worshiping primarily a different god, I think Make. And the whole thing is they kind of like overthrew the kings, like the warrior class staged a coup, overthrew the king. And every year what happened is there's like an islet off the coast of Rapa Nui. And the warriors would all jump down into the water, swim across the shark-infested waters to this little islet. You pluck a bird's egg that's out there from a nest, and then whoever comes back to Rapa Nui first with it gets to be in charge for the next year.
Which, of course, was the plot of the movie Birdman.
Yes, it was.
But that's fucking crazy.
But that's what people had been in for, like 100 years, I guess. I
Dude,
don't know.
fuck
Maybe
these
not 50 years.
stupid statues.
time-
We're fucking Birdman now.
Yeah, but that was like, that probably happened because of like scarcity of resources,
Yeah.
and people felt like the kings weren't doing enough about it. And so, people got agitated for a change. And so they started up the cult of the Birdman
And that change was you have to swim through shark-infested waters.
to grab a bird's egg, bring it back, and you get to be in charge for the next year.
And I think it's telling too that that Thor guy literally did it himself. That Thor guy traveled even farther on a handmade raft than they would have had to have traveled.
Okay, so since we're here at Thor Heyerdahl, let's just address the racism right now.
Oh, okay.
So the story that Thor is kind of proposing here is about Viracocha.
Mm-hmm.
Viracocha and his men were allegedly, according to Thor, now he says he heard this legend from the Incas, the Incan people, that Viracocha and his men were all white bearded men from the north.
Right.
So basically, the whole Viracocha legend, according to Thor Heyerdahl, is about how white people came into South America, used advanced technology to build like huge megalithic structures,
Right.
and then were chased out by the nasty locals, I guess, is kind of how that. And then they sailed on and continued building all across Polynesia. So
Yeah.
it's kind of an unsavory angle to that story.
Yeah.
But the Kon-Tiki thing, he sailed that raft to French Polynesia from Peru.
Yeah, let's stick with his raft story.
He also did a couple of other similar things where they tried to sail from like Morocco to the Americas, but the boat sank.
And again,
taking on water close to the Caribbean, but they made it like another 4,000 miles or something.
Wow, that's crazy. I don't know anything about the seas of the Pacific Ocean. Yeah. Are they rough? Are they choppy? What time of year were they sailing? I don't know anything about that.
I don't know.
For all I know, they could have been super calm.
Yeah. I don't know how easy or hard it would be.
They're probably warmer than definitely warmer than the Atlantic.
One thing I want to say though about Thor Heyerdahl and all his work. I mean, his work throughout his life is mainly about this cultural diffusion, where he kind of thinks that people had more contact than what we think. That ancient people were, more sophisticated, I think, in terms of their ability to be in contact with each other. But I do think that there's kind of this racist angle, which, like, we kind of talked about this with Atlantis, where it's like the Atlanteans, a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but some people who are more into the occult kind of think that Atlantis was a real thing and might have been a lost continent, and that those people were like the top people.
There's this sort of Aryan angle where they were like this,
that's white people,
perfect race.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of that aspect of it. That, I mean, like, I don't know. I find it weird because it's like, okay, on the one hand, you're saying, well, people were more advanced, but it's almost like, yeah, but they only got that way because of white people.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, you lost me.
Yeah.
You lost me. You had me and you lost me. Kind of was on board, and then you kicked me off the bus. But Thor Heyerdahl did that with the Kon-Tiki raft. He sailed to French Polynesia, but you said it, I'm not a sea guy. I mean, to me, what strikes me is I go, okay. And like, good for you. You did that.
You're saying that while twisting your nipples, and I don't understand why.
Do you have any evidence that happened in the past?
Well, I mean,
we talk about this a lot.
Oh,
it's the whole Baghdad battery thing. You picked up a thing in modern day and you did it, and you're like, well, ancient people could have done this. It's the same technology. Yeah, they could have, but did they?
Yeah.
Like, you're speculating.
Well,
like,
didn't he build the raft in a similar manner to their rafts?
Yeah, he did. He built it. Well, what he did,
just to kind of show that,
because what he's trying to prove, remember, is that people would have colonized first from South America. So he's saying it went the other way, rather than from west to east, it went east to west, colonization in Polynesia. That it happened, the original people were from South America rather than people from Polynesia.
Right.
So he's saying basically he built a raft made of balsa wood, which would not have been what Polynesians used. And
balsa wood, famous for
model airplanes.
Yeah, and if you ever had to do the bridge competition in physics class in high school, you ever do that?
No, what is that? Where you?
Oh God!
You have to build a bridge.
No, you have to build a bridge out of balsa wood, and it had to hold a certain amount of weight. You had to like use whatever physics.
Had to hold a 50-ton moai statue.
Yeah. Boy, that was tough. I missed a lot of class traveling to Easter Island and getting those moai statues.
Just bringing them back.
Yeah,
got a whole collection. But he built this. He sailed successfully from the coast of Peru into French Polynesia, but there's not any real evidence that happened. The sweet potato is the thing that people point to a lot, but and depending on, I guess, where you come down on this hypothesis, the sweet potato.
I'm fucking hard on fucking potato hypothesis.
Okay, Art's going hard on the potato.
Hypotato-hypothesis.
Hypothesis. The sweet potato is native to South America, but it was a staple in Polynesian diets, not just on Rapa Nui.
Yeah.
So people say, well, obviously South American people must have brought the sweet potato there, just like Europeans brought
horses.
Yeah, or chickens or pigs.
Because horses aren't native to North America, right? It's like they came over from Europe, right?
I believe that's right, Art. If you listeners, I find it absolutely fascinating, honestly.
To watch a horse get inseminated.
I watch those videos 24/7. I haven't been able to sleep in a month. I find it fascinating the amount of stuff that went back and forth from from the Americas into Europe through the like Columbian, post Columbus trading. Like it just sometimes I think about it, it's like, Art, you're Italian.
Mamma mia.
How important to Italian people is the tomato?
Tomato didn't show up for a long time in Italy.
It's new. How important is we have
Italians fuck the shit out of those tomatoes.
They
and
love
them,
tomatoes.
And made them fucking great.
Calabrian chili peppers. The chili pepper didn't exist. Think about Thai chilies. Think about chilies in Chinese cooking. They never had chili peppers before Columbus.
Yeah.
Like those chili peppers didn't grow anywhere other than
Silk Road
the
trading. I mean, it was fucking nuts, dude.
Americas is our home to the chili peppers.
Oh, yeah. We love it.
Shout out to our New Mexican listeners.
Woo! Get us some of them green chilies.
Get us some hatch chilies.
Send us some chilies in the mail.
Yum, 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 yum. We'll gobble them up. But anyway, I find it very interesting.
I find there's nothing peculiar about that because it's just they traded back and forth.
No, I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
How quickly, think this has only been 400 years. How quickly stuff got adopted as just a part of culture.
Yeah. This is mine now.
Yeah. It picks up. I mean, it's crazy how quick. And then it's that's traditional.
Sure.
But it's it's not.
Yeah. I mean, you start going back that far and it's just
tradition's only who makes the tradition.
Yeah. I mean, it's fucking, it's so far removed from us sometimes, these ancient cultures and who sometimes things can get buried in the ground so deep that there could have been civilizations that we have no idea ever existed.
Now you're talking, Art. It's an interesting thought experiment. What if humanity got wiped out tomorrow? What kind of record would we leave 1,000 years from now?
Yeah.
What would be left of our society?
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that there'd still be they'd probably be able to tell that we existed because there'd be a layer in the soil of nothing but
onions,
just completely untouched dirty diapers because they'll never biodegrade.
Yeah, they'll see the trash island.
Right, yeah, they'll...
Who's going to colonize that island? Should we do that? Let's colonize the trash island.
Our Indian art.
This is our Rapa Nui.
We're starting a government.
We'll build giant effigies made of fucking shit and garbage.
It'll all look like us.
Yeah.
The perfect materials to build effigies of ourselves. Shit and garbage.
It is an interesting thought experiment. There could have been, we don't even fucking know, man. Things could get buried so deep. We only know about what we've discovered.
I think that's the biggest thing with Rapa Nui.
Yeah.
There's more discoveries to be made.
Yeah.
We don't have all the information.
We don't have the whole idea. We only have guesses. We only have best guesses at best.
And as technology continues to advance, people continue to research this and new information comes up. I mean, we said it in the research. Eric von Daniken, when he wrote his book, Chariots of the Gods, he didn't have all this information.
Right.
There was no DNA testing then to confirm that, the Rapa Nui people are 70% Austronesian.
Yeah.
And
they're still alive. There's still descendants of the Rapa Nui people living who want to take, there's this whole, which, we're not going to comment on because it's not really our place to comment, but
Chile, give the island back to the people.
Well, Andy's going to comment on it. But there's a
sovereignty movement.
Yeah, there's a sovereignty movement where because right now the island is
Rapa Nui independence, I guess, is the best way to say it.
What's the word to describe it?
I don't know.
Not like a tourist area. It's like Yellowstone. It's like a national.
Yeah, it's a national park. It's a
yeah,
national.
It's a
historic
preserved area where you can go.
Almost the whole island is like
Right.
a preserved site.
Right.
And
There's one small area I think that they've built a resort, or not a resort, but like there's
there's
like a town.
There's one major city, and then most of the rest of it is like a national protected area. Obviously the Rapa Nui people that live there now, of which there's not that many.
No, it's like 70, right?
What is really interesting is the numbers were low for the population when Europeans arrived. Europeans decimated the population through just naturally by spreading disease, which they didn't do on purpose.
Right.
As far as I know, it just seems like it's one of those things. I mean,
but they should be covering their mouths when they sneeze more often.
Yes. These dirty
fucking cover your mouths.
18th century.
Cover your mouths with your elbow or your shirt when you sneeze, you nasty motherfuckers out there who are out fucking sneezing in the open, sneezing in your fucking hands, you gross pieces of shit. I hope a moai statue falls on you. And I hope you have to swim through shark-infested waters, you gross, sneezy fucks. And if I catch any of you listeners who don't wash their hands after they fucking go to the bathroom, I swear to God, I'm going to throw a moai statue on you.
You heard it, listeners. Watch out.
I'm so sick of these gross people, Andy. Wash your fucking hands.
I do.
I know you do. You don't look like you're hygienic, but you are.
Thank you. As you've said before, I look like I should stink, but I don't typically.
These fucking nasty people I see using the urinal and then not washing their hands.
It's so easy. The urinal does it for you. Just stick your hands in.
You got the soap at the base.
That's why they build the urinal that way.
I'm sorry I went on a bit of a rant there. It just really makes me mad. Fuck. You nasty fuckers.
But here's what I want to say.
Yeah.
When we're talking about this mystery of what could have been lost. So there's a glyph system that they've discovered on Rapa Nui.
Tons of artwork in the caves, tons of stuff.
But this system of writing is called Rongo Rongo. And nobody, as far as they know, alive today knows how to read it.
Yeah, it's lost.
Because the only people that, according to some of the locals, there are some people who are supposedly descended from, I guess what I'll say is the nobility of Rapa Nui.
The nobility.
The top class of
top
society.
Drug of the Rapa Nui. Build me an effigy in my likeness.
And these Rapa Nui.
Give me a cool bonnet made of red stone.
They were the only people who were literate.
The hunt for red stone.
The hunt for
Sean
red
Connery.
stone. Hey, speaking of, Sean Connery. He's abused his spouse, huh?
What?
We love to call out celebrities on this.
Yeah, he was terrible towards women.
Yeah. Just throw it out there.
Sure.
Just keep it in mind, everybody.
Yeah, keep it in mind.
But
what a tangent.
Europeans, what they did, the reason that nobody knows how to read Rongo Rongo anymore, and they can't decipher it. It's not been deciphered yet. Nobody knows how to read Rongo Rongo because Europeans took all of the upper crust of society and took them away to be slaves.
Right.
Like the last, supposedly like the last king of Rapa Nui, or the person who was descended from the last king or whatever, died as an indentured servant in Peru.
Jeez.
And so nobody on the island now knows how to read Rongo Rongo because their ancestors weren't literate in it.
Right.
They weren't taught how to read it.
Wasn't passed down.
So Eric von Daniken obviously suggests that Rongo Rongo is this crazy language that's probably come from either like highly advanced ancient people, or was given to us from extraterrestrials. And
aliens.
I know that this won't settle the debate, but keep this in mind. We would not be able to read Egyptian hieroglyphs today if it were not for the Rosetta Stone, which laid everything out. They couldn't translate Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Right.
And they were studying those for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Let alone Rongo Rongo that we've only been studying for a couple hundred years.
Right. So who knows? Maybe one day we'll discover a Rosetta Stone of some sorts.
And there's very little Rongo writing left because
Listeners,
Europeans...
Andy is so intense right now. He's got his finger in the air.
Europeans converted everybody on Rapa Nui to Christianity.
Oh, there you go.
So they burned a bunch of their literature and stuff.
Fucking ancient people, you're ruining... You had no foresight.
Europeans... God... fucking ruin everything.
We could have been sitting here reading Rongo and having a great fucking time.
Instead, now we gotta defend it because it might be extraterrestrial language.
Yeah.
Alien glyphs.
Alien glyphs. I do feel bad.
You should. I don't know what you're gonna say next, but you should.
For the dude who was working on a giant fucking statue of a head on a fucking like godforsaken island where all the resources are running out. The people are potentially starving, potentially turning to cannibalism.
You're painting such a bleak picture.
Well, I'm just saying that something bleak obviously happened. It's besides, and
it wasn't good.
Europeans are coming and ruining it and spreading fucking disease and taking people away in the slave trade. And you're some motherfucker who's just working on the statue. And then they just come up and they're like, hey, you got to stop. We're not into statues anymore.
We don't do that anymore.
Skedaddle. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Fuck right off out of here.
We're bird cult now.
Squawk, squawk.
Or even worse. the moai, Andy, have stood for thousands of years. These effigies, these statues have weathered, have watching over this island, Andy, protecting it. They've survived thunderous storms and mighty seas crashing against their waves, but they never ever crumble or falter under the immense pressure. And now tourists come aboard and take selfies in front of them.
Yep.
That's what they've been reduced to.
Just an experience.
Yep. You're a fucking emoji.
The physical embodiment of the spirit of the most powerful Rapa Nui people.
Yeah.
Selfie.
Oh, man. It is kind of cool, though, that you could make something so long ago and it's still here and it still looks pretty damn good.
Listeners.
And it gets turned into an emoji.
Listeners,
like, it's so well known. It's not like I think if you, I'm not like saying that these are pieces of shit, but if you said Inca Stone or Nazca Line.
If you say Tiwanaku, people are like, what? If you say Pumapunku, people are like, huh?
Yeah. But Easter
Island, like,
people know what that is.
Yeah, these statues became iconic, and a lot of people think that they're just heads, but it's actually full bodies. Just some of them are buried up to their head in soil.
Yeah,
it's full sexy bodies,
full nude.
Yeah. Art. There's a video in the research. We talk about these being the embodiment of the ancestors. There's a video where Terry Hunt and Carl Lippo are. They worked on this project to figure out exactly how the Rapa Nui moved the moai into position on the ahus.
Right.
And a lot of people have done experiments, including Thor Heyerdahl, on Rapa Nui on how to do this. But what they found, this is interesting. It doesn't really, I don't think it adds a whole lot, but I think it's interesting. So they studied all these, there's a few moai that are just like abandoned on the roadside, which what they came to figure out is as they were moving the moai, some of them fell down, and then they had no way to lift them up once they fell down.
Oh, and moais wobble.
They're not weebles. They'll fall.
They fall.
But what they found is that
wobble.
Invariably, when moais were going uphill, when they were on an incline, the moais fell backward. What they also found is that when they were going downhill, the moais fell face first. And when they were on level ground, it was about 50-50. So they did all this statistical modeling and stuff and figured out that this was consistent with the moais being like leaning forward a little bit, having a center of gravity that was ahead of the statue a little bit, and it helped them to move it. And basically what they found is that with relatively few people, from the quarry, what they do is they carve it out of the rock, and it's got like a keel attached still on the bottom in the back, and they just perforate that with holes then when they're ready to move it. And all they kind of have to do is like then shove it off, and it slides down the side of the mountain, and it rests into like a little hole that they've dug at the base of the mountain. And so it'll kind of like lean up a little bit along the side of the mountain based on how they dig the hole. Then from there, they move it. And so what they do, what Terry Hunt and Carl Lippo speculate happened, because there's this like people that they talked to on the island, the Rapa Nui, they said the statues walked to the ahus. And so a lot of people have done things like Thor Heyerdahl's idea was to like shuffle it across the ground.
Yeah, like you would a heavy bookshelf.
Right. And what they found is, what Thor found is that they could do it. They could move the thing, but the base of the statue sustained damage. And that's not consistent with what they find. Well, what Hunt and Lippo say is that once it got to the ahu, they did some finishing work on it, and they like slimmed it down so that the center of gravity was more right underneath it instead of out in front. So it didn't lean anymore. So it would have stood straight up like we see today. And so that it would fit on the ahu. And all that finishing work and stuff they did once they had it in place. And, other researchers have shown that you could use like palm timbers to make rollers and stuff, but it doesn't seem like the Rapa Nui people actually did that. It wasn't consistent with what their own traditions were.
Wait, so how'd they get it out of the hole and into where it needed to go?
So what they do is they like lean it forward. They start to lean it forward. Like maybe they use a log or something to like start to lean it. They prop it up. So at the base, it would fall forward. If you just let it go, it'll fall forward because it leans that way. But they put like stones or timbers in front of it to hold it upright.
Okay.
And then they just like, they get a rope around the eyes, around the head, and then like teams on either side. And they just kind of like, they each take turns pulling it, and it just like, it walks basically, like it wobbles forward.
Oh.
And they have like a team in the back to sort of stabilize it. But you can do this with like, I don't know, less than 50 people.
Yeah, that's not hard at all. You just get your fucking buff bros.
And there's a video in there, and this is very like they do this experiment.
And people were buff back then.
Yeah.
You were either buff or dead.
Like genetically speaking, Samoan people are well known for like being NFL players, being big, and Polynesian people generally are bigger. And it's like there's an obesity epidemic in Polynesia right now, and what they find out is that Polynesian people have this gene that's like a thrift gene for your energy, because they probably developed from these long sea voyages.
And they find great deals on jean jackets.
Yeah,
secondhand shops.
Thrift jeans. Yeah, they all have secondhand jeans. But it's like it helps them store energy.
Oh, wow.
So that now that Polynesian people don't have to take these long sea voyages, months at sea with very little food, it's leading. Their biochemistry is changing.
That makes sense because
evolution hasn't caught up to modern day changes, which are happening much faster. So there's a lot of obesity in Polynesian peoples, but it's like there's a genetic indicator for it because of this past thing where they needed to be able to store energy very
and they lived on like islands where it was like every day you had to do like some kind of manual labor to like go get you had to go out and fish. So you had to like get the boat ready. You had to pull the boat and do all this other crazy shit. Yeah, it checks out. You just got a bunch of buff bros. If you weren't buff, you were dead. Either buff or dead.
Yeah.
You get two options, Andy.
I would have
back then.
I would have been dead a long time ago.
Buff or dead.
I probably would have just died right away.
Yeah, you and I would be dead for sure.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have.
We would have been like, we're really good at.
I'm probably more of the administrative type.
Can I read the mail? They've been like, go swim in the shark water.
I deserve this.
Well, Andy, what do you think? We're getting close to time here. Should we get to our verdicts?
Yeah, I think that we could. Oh.
Well, I mean, we have a couple of.
Here's a fun point to mention too about
Let's
the
have a fun
statues
point
walking.
to mention about this.
There's a word in Rapa Nui, neke, which means walking without feet.
Oh.
And of course, the moai do not have feet,
As all humans should.
So
I wish.
That's
interesting,
just
though.
another cultural.
Starting to align. Helps the pieces align.
Yeah, just
A
one.
little bit more, just like a statue.
Yeah, this is just a little more garnish on this enchilada.
That's right.
Yeah, let's get to our verdicts.
Boy, listeners, there's just nothing here. Like, I'm sorry.
Wow, nothing.
There's nothing. So I gotta take a page out of my Roanoke book. I am like, without a doubt, case closed.
Whoa,
There's just
closed?
like, yeah, there's just no mystery here about these heads. There's some interesting archaeological information. If you're interested in archaeology or studying ancient native peoples and their culture and how they did shit, a lot of cool stuff here. But there's nothing with aliens or anything else involved. Everything checks out. The sailing, the everything. Get close.
Wow.
Get close.
I am.
Get close. There's nothing here. We didn't even talk about aliens.
I stuck the fork in the socket. I am shocked.
I've done that before. Not fun. Andy, we've been talking for almost, over an hour, and we didn't mention fucking aliens once. So I think that's yeah, we did not mention the aliens because it was me.
Is that your Eric Von Daniken impression?
No, this is Arnold Von Daniken. His brother
His brother is.
from Austria. Yeah. I put the statue heads that look like me.
Get to the Yahoo!
Get to the Yahoo!
Yeah, I had a feeling that was coming. Wow.
Yeah. I helped him build giant statues. I've lost it.
Oh, yeah, it's gone. Bye-bye, Arnold Von Daniken.
Hopefully, see you never.
We hardly knew ye.
We didn't talk about aliens once, dude.
It was a small part of the discussion.
It's just not there. Sometimes it's not there.
The thing about it is that, sure, you could say it, but you could say it for anything that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that there's any tangible kind of evidence that leads us to believe that that's part of the situation.
Yeah, and I think, we'll probably in the future discuss other sites like this where it's something an ancient civilization did that we have no knowledge of, and so they say aliens, But we don't have a lot of information, but we have enough that it's not aliens.
Yeah.
Case closed.
That's wow, what a verdict. So I guess now it's my turn to deliver a verdict.
Yeah, I guess it would be, Andy, unless there's someone else in the room.
The mysteries of Easter Island. What do I think? I think the jury's still out.
Wow.
I can't say case closed.
Wow.
I'll say this.
It's Roanoke, Andy, all over again.
I'm back in action, baby. Are the works that we see on Rapa Nui the works of human hands? Case closed, yes. Without a doubt. Human beings did this. There are the thing that I find compelling is that the statue building on Rapa Nui, while at a scale not common, design-wise and technique-wise, not inconsistent with what other Polynesian people did on their own islands.
Sure.
So it seems like this would be technology that the Rapa Nui people would have possessed when they arrived. But the issue of the basalt moai and the ahu at Vinapoo is interesting. And I think we have to leave the door open for some possibility that either there is as a yet undiscovered South American presence on the island, possibly prior to Polynesians arriving, or that there was some contact and there was some exchange of
Fluids.
tech fluids. For sure, that happened. That's in the DNA. And maybe some ideas, too.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
But how does that not give you a case closed verdict, though?
Well, because I'm saying, do I think that it was just Polynesian people, do I think it's just Rapa Nui people? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying, is it plausible? Is it plausible that South Americans were there first? I'm going to say plausible.
Oh, okay. I mean, I wasn't getting that in depth with it.
Yeah, I went further than you. I mean, I like to give listeners the whole enchilada.
Yeah, you like to get real deep in there.
I like to bury myself in the enchilada.
Whereas I just hang out in the labia of verdict land.
Yep.
The real thing you need to stimulate.
Nobody
talks about it.
Just the labia.
They always talk about that mysterious clitoris.
Ignore it, folks. Just go for the labia.
Hang on the labia.
Ignore the clitoris. Ignore the vagina.
Like rope workouts.
What you really want to do is you want to stimulate the cervix. So you need a long probing instrument.
Dilate the cervix. You really want to make your partner go wild.
Also punch him in the kidneys.
That'll do some damage. All right, so you're okay.
I just want to say, I think it's all human beings.
Sure.
I'm
So your case closed on aliens.
I'm case closed on aliens.
Okay.
But
then
there's
we
also
have
this
the same
alternative history angle. Do I believe the racist stuff? No, I'm saying case closed on the racism. Let's let the racism go. It's not real.
Yeah.
White people did bad stuff, not good stuff. Let's talk about the other possibility, though, that South Americans, this cross-pollination between the two. I'm saying plausible.
Oh, yeah, sure. Sure.
But we just don't know enough yet to say.
To me, I think these ancient Polynesian people traveled. I think a bunch of them landed in Chile. Whether they landed on Rapa Nui first or not, I don't know. I think it's totally plausible that they were hanging out, like I said, having big cool orgies, exchanging ideas, fluids, information, building techniques, food, and then they all eventually hung out on the island in some way. It's like, yeah.
You just called it Papa Nui, and Rapa Nui means Big Rapa, so I guess Papa Nui means Big Papa, which is is Rapa Nui your daddy?
Oh, good God. I'm sorry. I'm not good with words.
Okay, so I think we're pretty much on the same boat.
I'm sorry, Rapa Nui.
We're on the same canoe in this one.
Oh, baby. Listeners, that was our verdict on Easter Island. Let us know. Did we get it right? Did we get it wrong? Are we cool? Do you want to see us in a thong? Let us know your thoughts on the subject.
Tell us all of that and more.
Let's just see some fanfic of us.
Let's get some erotic fan fiction.
Use the hashtag. I like it when you call me
Big Rapa.
Big Rapa.
I was gonna say, honey, moai, I'm home.
Oh God.
But
I like it when you call me Big Rapa, hashtag, and tweet at us at Mr. Bunker Pod or email us mrbunkerpod@gmail.com. Andy, what do you got?
All right.
What do you got in your little bag of tricks? I see you with that fiendish little.
I got an impish grin on.
Impish grin.
Art, I got a question. I got a question for you to wrap this whole thing up.
Okie
Art, if you were a king.
Oh, and I am.
You're the king of my heart. And you wanted to create a monument for posterity.
Playing I haven't.
What would you create? What would you have your subjects create and why?
A penis.
Big old,
No.
just a giant hog.
I think the first thing you go to, right? Penis.
It's a penis, just a big dong.
Big old dong. Hanging out. I saw this fucking funny meme or whatever of it was like a rock formation, so it looked like there was like a big rock on the left and a big rock on the right, and in between the two rocks was like this little cylindrical rock. It was kind of just poking out of the ground, and the caption was like, when you're just hanging out in the bathtub, and it's supposed to imply like the two big rocks are your thighs and the smaller one was your penis hanging out. And I thought that was funny. Now, I'm not going to do a penis.
Okay.
I'm not going to go that far. Now,
right, so you're recanting that already.
I'm recanting it. I would tell my workers, I would say, oh, a penis. And my workers would be like, was he joking? I don't know. Was he serious?
And you'd be like, got you, idiots.
I can't tell with that guy. I can never tell if he's being condescending or not. Whatever, just build it. We don't want him to get mad at us.
Look, Art's future workers, when he's a king, he's being condescending.
And so they would start building my penis, and I'd be like, guys, what the fuck are you doing? Don't actually build a penis. I was joking, you idiots.
Why'd you give us all these molds then? all these
photos.
All these drawings.
And reference. For fun. It was a joke, you dummies. Fucking idiots. That's why I'm the king and you're not. So anyway, I would actually, I'm a big fan of reaction images.
Yeah.
You know that
you
about
are.
me. Listeners,
I do know that.
you don't know this, but Andy knows this because we text. I've always been a big fan of reaction images. I have a ton of them saved on my phone. And I like to send reaction images rather than replying to certain things sometimes. But
As we all do,
because now our keyboards come with GIFs. That
everything's got a GIF keyboard now.
You can have a GIF keyboard implanted instantly on your phone, and you can send GIF reactions. So I would probably have various depictions of my face making some of my favorite reaction images. So I would take a book out of the Rapa Nui and have big things of my head making different reaction images. So it would all really be centered around the face. So hopefully they could come up with a pretty easy mold and then just kind of spend most of their time sculpting the face. And then probably I'd have a few that would be like Statue of David's, but with me. The ideal body. The Statue of David's supposed to be the ideal.
Right.
There's actually calculators and converters online where you can put in your own body measurements for certain parts, and it will tell you how to, like, what your other parts need to measure to reach the golden ratio that is David's measurements. Because I'm pretty sure that the measurements of the Statue of David's body, like his thighs, his biceps, his chest, and whatever, are all like, they all fit into that golden ratio, that like perfect ratio of upper to lower body and whatever.
Yeah.
So you can do that if you're interested. Anyway.
Okay.
So what would you have, Andy? What are the workers of the Kingdom of Andy? Which, of course, our two nations are at war.
Eternally.
Yours probably comes out on top strategically. I couldn't fight you militarily because I think you'd have more strategy than me.
But you'd fight dirty.
Yeah, I think I have better, maybe I'd win through culture. I'd like to think. I don't know. What do you think? Is that fair? I think militarily you'd beat me. You'd be a better strategist. You'd be like, oh, Art's going to fall for this. We'll just hammer and anvil him real easy. But whereas my people would convert your people over.
What do you think that you're offering that I'm not?
A good time.
As much sex with the king as you want.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, my role.
How else am I supposed to win? I'm not going to Alpha Centauri anytime soon.
Yeah. Great game. Great classic Sid Meier's game.
What, diplomacy, I guess? I'm not likable.
No, you'd be bad at
I guess you win at everything then.
Yeah, I got you.
You're much better at diplomacy and strategy.
I think with my monument,
I would have a lot of mercenaries. I'll just buy my win.
Yeah.
I'll just overwhelm you.
Yeah. That would be, I wouldn't spend the money.
Also, I'd have more wizards than you.
I'll just let it come to an end. I don't want to spend the money.
All right, what's your effigy?
See, the thing with a monument is that you want it to. What's the goal? You don't want it to just last your lifetime, right? You want it to be something that that people can't get rid of, right?
Yeah, like a virus,
So I thought about this in a couple of different ways,
like a disease.
and actually, that's where I'm going to go.
Oh
Art.
my God.
I could create some sort of a disease, and
Oh my God.
here's what I think I would do. There's like spacefaring bacteria that become. I think we've talked about this before. They become like DNA libraries.
Sure.
Everything they inhabit.
A primordial ooze that we may have spawned from.
And I would be infected with a disease, and I would have these bacteria harvested from my body, and then I would place them in hundreds of tiny spaceships with plates,
Wow.
like plaques on them, declaring what occurred, and I would shoot them off into all different directions into the universe. And I would also forcibly infect all of my citizens with the disease.
Oh my God.
And as much as possible, use chemical warfare on your kingdom so that your people got infected. And then
Wow.
everyone would remember me. And probably also I would also have like my scientists like drill down into as deep down into the earth as they could, and then like sadistically detonate a nuclear weapon.
What?
So that there's like in the rock strata, there's like a very clear indicator that I did that
Andy was
as
here.
a sign of my power.
Jesus Christ.
So I think those would be my monuments.
You don't give a fuck about being well liked. You just want to be remembered.
And my hope is that the bacteria would alter the DNA of people so that there would be this marker now where they could tell like human race changed
Oh my God.
pre this disease and post it.
That's so fucked up. What does your disease do?
What better monument? For as long as humans exist, that'll be part of them. And then we fired them into all directions in space.
Oh my God.
What are the odds that it'll be another planet created?
Your idea, you didn't just make an effigy of a dick. You literally shot your fucking seed across the globe and throughout the universe.
My absolutely awful DNA.
You implanted people with a disease, which we don't know the symptoms of.
No, I mean, that's to be worked out by the scientists.
Oh my God. You're literally playing that
But if
that Plague Inc. game.
If anything, I would hope that
Or-
the only side effect would be really awful diarrhea.
Oh my God. I gotta hand it to you, Andy. That is, you will be remembered. Maybe not fondly, but you will be remembered. People will be talking about King Andy Hart for a long time.
King Andy the virus.
King Andy the virus. King Art the Vain.
I went
and
viral.
King Andy the virus.
I went viral. Also, I detonated a nuclear weapon as far down in the bedrock as we could get it.
Millions of years from now, they're going to be like, yeah, the reason why Japan no longer exists is because it was flooded due to King Andy's detonation, moved one of the 3 tectonic plates that meet at the center of Japan, caused a massive tsunami.
Well,
Jesus
we all make
Christ.
mistakes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You know what I say? Don't live on an island if you don't want to end up underwater.
Oh my God. Well, it's time for this episode to go underwater. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is.
Andy, you have any last words for the listeners out there if they want to look into
Read the research we got. It's very interesting. I think that Easter Island's pretty fascinating. Let's just celebrate the fact that we live on this planet where there's such a wide variety of interesting stories that we still don't know a lot about. And thanks to all of our people who do this kind of research.
Yeah, shout out to the archaeologists.
Archaeologists, even people like Thor Heyerdahl. I mean, please stop being racist about it, but it's good to have an alternative opinion sometimes just to keep people honest, especially
Yeah.
ones that are borne out by actual research.
And if anything, it allows for that silly hypothesis to be easily disproven, right?
Yeah.
You put out those alternative theories, and they get disproven.
If we're following,
So we can stop talking about
let's
them.
all just follow the scientific method, folks.
That's right. Well, listeners, once again, thank you for listening. As always, for the titular Mr. Bunker, and for my Zarek of or relating to adapted to a dry environment co-host Andy Hart, I'm Arthur Stone saying that was the whole enchilada.
Surfs up.